11 tonight, a 23 ABC in-depth story, a Southern California lawyer trying to change how California cities vote, and he says it's in hopes of giving minorities more of a voice.
23 ABC's Brennan Johansson spoke with the lawyer and others who aren't on board with what he's doing.
The law firm Shankman & Hughes operates out of Malibu, but they have their fingerprints all over the state. They threaten to sue cities whose voting practices don't line up with state law, and recently they've made their way into Kern County.
In order to find Kevin Shankman, you normally have to go to sunny Malibu. But on this day, we find him about 20 miles east at Pico Youth and Family Center in Santa Monica. He chose this place for a reason. The center is adorned with paintings of civil rights activists like Cesar Chavez, and he says that this is all a civil rights issue.
It's just not a good situation.
But he says he's trying to do good in this situation, what he calls racially polarized voting, where minority voters in a city tend to get behind the same candidate, and the majority does the same.
In sufficient numbers to usually defeat the minority's preferred candidates.
He argues that at-large elections, where everyone can vote for all city council members, allows blocks of white voters to overwhelm minority voters, thus keeping minority-preferred candidates out of power.
The at-large system allows a bare majority of 51% of the voters to control 100% of the governing board.
Shankman uses the California Voting Rights Act as a way to get cities away from that practice. The act from 2001 essentially makes it possible for minority voters to prove that they're at a disadvantage due to at-large elections. With that in mind, Shankman can take action if he thinks that a city is racially polarized.
We then will send a letter to the city clerk, and we hope that the city takes action based on that letter. If they do, then our work is done.
And if not, that's when he can come down hard.
If they don't, then the next step is to file a lawsuit, and then from there it's however the court says it is.
Since 2012, his firm has sent upwards of 100 letters to everything from school districts to water districts. At least 30 cities have gotten letters in that time, including Tehachapi. According to 2010 census data, the Kern County city sports a population made up of 62% white, 31% Hispanic, and 2% black. And now Shankman is trying to get voting districts implemented. But some who live in this community are fighting back.
Is that inclusive in here?
Peter Graff has lived in Tehachapi for nearly 40 years now.
Okay, thank you.
He says that people in town weren't properly notified of these incoming districts, so he's been collecting signatures to try to take it all to the ballot.
And that's why I spoke to the people when I go to their door. This is for voting districts, and this is to put a stop to the ordinance and let us, the citizens, make a decision.
Some citizens like Brianna speaking out with Graff against the idea of those districts.
We don't have a freedom of choice. It's taken away because we have to have limited choices of who we're allowed to pick, and that doesn't make any sense at all.
They want to stop it. People want to stop it, and that's what I'm trying to do.
The city telling Graff that his petition did not meet the standards.
The signatures will not be verified, and ordinance 1707-745 is now in effect.
But he says he doesn't plan on giving up this fight.
But we have great people here, and we need to figure out if these maps are even applicable to our city.
The city says they're planning on implementing this map for the November election. Whether it does what Shankman intends remains to be seen, but this is the current Tehachapi City Council, with 3 of their terms set to be up this November. But a question remains, is this just a big city lawyer getting involved in small town issues, all for the money?
Well, it's a tough way to make a buck.
If a city changes their voting practices solely after getting a letter, Shankman says that they can't get paid more than $30,000, an amount that he says doesn't even cover costs.
If a city changes before they even receive a letter from us, we don't get paid at all, and that's fine.
He definitely does get paid when cities refuse, get taken to court, and lose, like Palmdale, the first of 2 cities they have actually sued back in 2013.
Between us and their own attorneys, they ended up spending over $7 million for the privilege of that fight.
Shankman won that fight, one that Tehachapi has chosen not to pick, but it's one that another Kern County city could be in for soon. Taft. As of now, they haven't responded to Shankman's letter, leaving the door wide open.
We will deal with Taft appropriately.
And back in Santa Monica, we met at the center because it's very much a part of this story. Shankman is planning to take the city of Santa Monica to court this summer, and the center is in an area that he says is underrepresented in elections, making it all worth the risk for him.
Why take the risk now? Seriously, it's because this is an area where we are doing good.
Both groups taking their own risks to do what they think is good. in Tehachapi.
I feel very lucky to be doing that work because we're able to do good.
Brandon Johansson, 23 ABC News.
Palmdale, the first city that was taken to court over this issue, held their first district election in 2016. Shakeman says that year they elected their first Latino Democrat. Meanwhile, Graff says he'll continue going before the Tehachapi City Council, hoping to take it all to a vote.